She stood on my property line, phone to her ear, voice shrill and triumphant. "There's an illegal structure on HOA land. Send the police." Diane Holloway, self-appointed queen of Pine Hollow Estates, had finally found a battle worth fighting. The cabin, she claimed, violated zoning, permits, and community standards. But what she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the land beneath her feet, the roads they drove on, even the HOA's own office, all sat on property deeded to a single owner. Me. I'd stayed silent for years, living quietly, in the woods, letting them play their games. But when she called the cops on my home, I stopped hiding, and with one legal notice, I didn't just shut her down, I shut everything down. Elias Grant lived in a cedar cabin at the edge of Black Pine Valley, surrounded by pines and silence. He kept to himself. No lawn parties, no complaints, no drama. The HOA treated him like a ghost. But to Diane Croft, his very existence was a threat. The cabin, built in 1987, predated the HOA by 14 years. It sat on a 20-acre parcel Elias inherited from his grandfather, the original land developer. The HOA believed they owned the valley. In truth, they only leased it, through a master agreement Elias had quietly maintained. He collected the fees, approved the bylaws, and watched from the shadows as they fined, bullied, and ruled. He didn't care, until Diane started calling his cabin an eyesore, demanding inspections and threatening demolition. He wasn't breaking rules, he was the reason they existed. It began with a violation notice. Unapproved exterior stain must be heritage cedar per section 4.1. Elias ignored it. The next week, a drone hovered over his roof at dawn. He recorded it, HOA logo visible. He sent the footage to the board with a single line. "Cease trespass." No response. Then a crew arrived, land surveyors, placing stakes near his porch. Elias stepped out, boots in hand, and told them to leave. They refused. He called the county. The survey was unauthorized. The stakes came down. But Diane wasn't backing off. At the next meeting, she declared, "We will not tolerate lawlessness in our community." Elias sat in the back row, silent, watching. He didn't correct her, not yet, But the clock was ticking. At 6:13 a.m., Elias was brewing coffee when the sirens came. A police cruiser pulled up, then a second. Diane stood behind them, arms crossed, smug. "This cabin is on HOA land," she told the officer. "No permits, no inspections. It's a safety hazard." The officer knocked. Elias opened the door, calm, shirtless, coffee in hand. "I own this property," he said, "and the 3,200 acres around it." The officer checked his tablet. No record. Elias handed him a folder. Land deeds, master lease agreements, mineral rights, and the original 1973 subdivision contract, all under Grant Valley Holdings, LLC, his company. The officer looked at Diane. "Ma'am, you may want to step back," she laughed. "That's a fake." It wasn't. The next day, Elias filed a formal notice with the county. All HOA authority is suspended pending review of lease compliance. The HOA's existence depended on a 50-year master lease, due for renewal in 90 days. Elias was the lessor, and he wasn't renewing suddenly, Everything was in question. The HOA office, on his land the community pool, built on a leased easement the fines, legally void if the HOA had no standing residents panicked. Diane claimed it was a scam. But the county verified the deeds. A title search confirmed it. Elias Grant owned every undeveloped acre in Black Pine Valley, including the common areas. He wasn't just a homeowner, he was the landlord, and he'd just pulled the lease. At a public emergency meeting, Elias stood at the podium, not in anger, but in sorrow. "I didn't want this," he said. I wanted peace. But when you weaponize rules to punish a man for living quietly, you forget who gave you the right to rule. He revealed the truth. His grandfather had sold the homes but kept the land to preserve the forest. The HOA was meant to protect the community, not control it. But under Diane, it became a tool of fear. Over 5 years, they issued $417,000 in fines, 82% against new or elderly owners. 3 families had sold under pressure. Elias had watched it happen. Now he had 2 choices: evict the HOA, reclaim the land, and dissolve the community, or reset it. He chose reset. Elias didn't seize control. He dissolved the current board. Then, he transferred management of the common areas to a new resident trust, elected, transparent, term limited. All past fines were voided. The lease was restructured. No more arbitrary rules. No more secret meetings. And Diane? Banned from holding office for 5 years. At the final vote, she stood in the back, silent. No screaming, no phone call, just defeat. As she walked out, an elderly woman stopped her. "You called the cops on a man for living in peace," she said, "and he showed more mercy than you ever did." The room didn't cheer. They just watched her go. 1 year later, the cabin still stands. The forest is protected. And the community? It's different now. Quieter. Kinder. Elias still lives in the woods, but now neighbors wave. Some even bring pie. He didn't want revenge. He wanted balance. And when the first wildflowers bloomed along the trail, the ones Diane had fined people for planting, he smiled. Because justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet man who owns the land, the law, and the last word. And sometimes peace is the most powerful power of all.